I am not an academic person. I struggle to write academically. I can't write in that elaborate, wordy style you see in journal articles and books. Is this you? My advice: if you feel you can't write like an academic, if it makes you feel weird and uncomfortable, then don't. Please don't. Don't try to be someone you're not in your academic writing, because I did that for a very long time, and in trying to sound smart, I ended up writing stuff that was impenetrable, and it just made me sound, well, like a bit of a self important tosspot, to be honest. There is another way to write academically without having to learn a whole new language and sound like a snob, and I'm going to share that with you in this video. I'm Dr. Elizabeth Yardley, and I've been working as an academic in UK universities for the last 20 years. I too consider myself not to be an academic person, and I used to get really frustrated in trying to write in the way that some of my academic peers were writing. But I got past that, and I've written multiple books and journal articles now, which I'm told are written in quite accessible language. Now, don't get me wrong, as I said earlier, there have been times when I've strayed into writing the nonsense, the look at me, I'm so freaking clever stuff. But I haven't done that for a long time, because you know what? People can't understand you. It makes your writing inaccessible. There is no Google Translate for the language of academic bollocks, and people get fed up of wading through fluff and filler. If people have to spend half an hour trying to make sense of that first paragraph you've written, and they have to keep getting a dictionary out because your writing is so full of pretentious long words, do you think they're going to try reading the rest of it? Nope. Are they going to learn anything from you? Nope. A quick but related side note here. Recently, my husband was reading an academic paper, and the paper he was reading was about reading. It was all very meta. It was written in academic bollocks, and we were trying to translate it. He was telling me the words, I was looking them up in the dictionary, and having analysed and decoded it, we came to the conclusion that the authors could have said in 2 sentences what they took half a page to explain. And this was a paper about bloody reading, for goodness sake. One of the words they used to describe something was epiphenomenal. Oh, I mean, come on. If anyone's interested, here's what it means. And I'm going to have to add that as an image to the video later rather than saying it out loud now, because full disclosure, I have completely forgotten what it means. But it means that. Why don't they just write that? Oh. You should not be aiming to write in an impenetrable style in your dissertation or any kind of written assignment, to be honest. So we need to get super clear on the purpose of academic writing. What should we be doing in our academic writing? And handily, they are the headings of the sections in this video. Communicate our understanding of a topic, demonstrate our critical analytical skills, and make our own contribution to the debate. Now let's have a look at how we can do those things without trying to sound like we've swallowed a dictionary. First up, how do we communicate our understanding of the topic that we're writing about? How do we make this process an easy one that feels natural? This starts way before you begin tapping away on your keyboard, because to write in a natural, accessible way that doesn't feel like an ordeal, we need to have a genuine, unwavering confidence that we know our stuff. So before you start writing, make sure that you spend plenty of time reading up on your topic, finding literature about it. And if you need help with that, check out this video. And accept that sometimes you're going to need to sit there with a dictionary. Sometimes you'll need to read something multiple times before it goes in. I still have to do this. It's an unfortunate reality. I regularly feel stupid when I'm reading things that other academics have written. And I'm someone who became a professor at 36 and who's published a whole load of my own academic writing. So you are not alone if you feel a bit dumb when you're reading academic stuff. You really are not alone. And you've got to remember that the problem is not with us. It is with them. It is with the people what wrote that stuff. If you still don't get something, please go and talk to one of your more relatable professors or lecturers. That might not be your personal tutor or your dissertation supervisor. That might be another member of staff, and that is fine. It's expected that you're going to talk to people who aren't your supervisors. It's expected that you're going to mingle with other members of the academic community. And when you do go and have a chat with someone about the thing that you're stuck on, ask them if you can record that conversation so you can take some notes from it later. That is a perfectly reasonable request, and I always say yes to that when students ask me if they can do it. Secondly, you need to demonstrate your critical analytical skills. A student said to me recently, "I don't feel I have the authority to judge other people's research. I'm just a student. What do I know?" That is nonsense. Your view matters. Your contribution matters. You can make judgments about other people's research. Of course you can. Sometimes you might not know exactly how to do that in a way that's going to make you feel confident and in a way that's going to make you feel like you've done a really thorough job of it. So follow this process. Describe. Start by describing the piece of research you've read. What's it about? What did it consist of? What were the key arguments the authors were making? Interpret. Look at the findings of that piece of research, the arguments that the authors are making, and consider, to whom or what does this apply? To whom or what does this not apply? Is this relevant in all situations or just some situations? Who or what have the authors ignored or missed out? What are the implications of their arguments for the people and the things that they haven't covered? Evaluate. Make a judgment about the value of the piece of research that you've read. How valuable is it? What contribution does it make to the literature? What does it bring to the party? What does it do that other pieces of research haven't? Thirdly, you need to make your own contribution to the debate. And this is where it sometimes gets a bit more difficult, because this involves, firstly, finding your own academic voice, and secondly, expressing it in a way that feels natural for you. You might sit down to write something and you are completely lost for words. You don't know what to write. Now, one thing I've noticed with some of my own students over the years is that when they're talking to me about their work, or they're talking to their friends and fellow students about their work, they do say what they think. They do bring something to the debate. They might say something like,
"I'm not convinced by radical feminist theory because of X, Y, and Z."
Or,
"I don't think this piece of research really says anything new."
or,
"I'm really not convinced one way or the other. I think it's probably a bit of both."
or.
"But what about this thing? The research hasn't even mentioned it."
So whilst it's evident that they've got views, they've got opinions, they've actually formed a judgment about the thing that they've read, it doesn't always come across in their dissertation. And that's because they get a bit confused about whether they're able to actually give their opinion, or they don't feel confident in doing so they just don't. One thing that I always recommend to students in order to eke out what your contribution might be is to ask a friend or relative to interview you about your dissertation research. With that person's permission, record that interview, and when you listen back to it, you'll be able to pick out the really valuable stuff. You'll be able to pick out the points that you made that you can then bring into your writing that relate to your own contribution. Here are some of the questions that you can get your friend or relative to ask you in that interview. Tell me about what other people had said about this topic. Were there different positions on it? What did you want to achieve by doing your own research? In what ways does your research support what other people have said? In what ways does your research challenge what other people have said? All in all, what is your position on this topic now? What do you feel really strongly about? What are you not so sure about? What do you mean by? What's that view based on? Those are some really useful questions that you can use to actually draw out what your contribution is. One other really good thing about this exercise is that when you verbalise things, when you talk about them, it forces your brain to put it into accessible terms so the other person can understand you. Up until this point, it is all a big soupy mess in your head or on your screen, and it's a bit of a challenge to make sense of it. However, talking about it will smooth it out, and you'll actually come away from this exercise with some sentences, perhaps even some whole paragraphs that you can use in your dissertation. This might be the first time you've actually had a conversation with someone else about your research, and you might find that they'll ask you some other questions, some things that you didn't expect, and you know what? Your answers will be absolute gold for your dissertation, because it will give you plenty of other things to think about which you would never have considered had you not spoken to someone else and shared your research with them. So give it a go. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain. That brings us to the end of this video, in which we've covered how to communicate your understanding of a topic, how to demonstrate your critical analytical skills, how to make your own contribution to the debate, all of which is going to help you become more confident in your academic writing. It's also going to help you become someone who writes in an accessible, straightforward way. And that is going to be super helpful beyond your dissertation. It's going to help you write concise emails that don't make people roll their eyes when they open them. It's going to help you communicate effectively with your colleagues, clients, and all service users. It's going to generally help you get ahead in life. Once I sorted out my own writing, big things started happening in my own career, so please do give these things a try. If you want to watch any of those sections of the video again, scroll to the relevant chapter on the time bar below or click on the chapter link in the description. And if you want more advice like this, then become a Degree Doctor Insider by signing up to my weekly emails. Every Wednesday, I send out a short but mighty email in which I give you a little tip or a hack to make your dissertation journey a much smoother one. Here are some of the topics I've sent emails out on recently, so if this looks like the kind of thing you need, go and sign up. And if you sign up right now, today, you will get these lovely freebies, which are going to be super helpful in ensuring your dissertation stays on track or gets back on track. I'll be back soon with more dissertation tips.